The list of questions are ones that I've come up with in reading a book that's called Here is Your Indiana Government. It's Charles Mumma is holding it up back there. It's published by the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. They publish one every year that kind of goes through how the changes have happened. It's a really interesting book if you're interested in government. They have it in the Indiana room here at the library and also at the reference section of the library. And I think if you contact the Goshen and Elkhart Chamber of Commerce, they can put you in touch with it. So I've devised a list of questions from that, and hopefully you guys will have some questions of your own. Okay, or not I have, those Ben and Vicki and I. The first question I have is, what is the best way for constituents to have our voices heard and acted on?
Well, this is probably one of the most frustrating parts of local government, is getting people to express opinions. Often we don't hear from people unless they're really upset about something. If something is coming to city council and and the public is in favor of it, we don't often hear that. We hear from people who are opposed to something. But it is amazing how few, really, phone calls or emails that council members get on a subject. So if you do contact them by phone, or if you do email them, one email or phone call makes a pretty significant difference. I have some contact information up here for Goshen City Council members. Two of them don't have email, so the only way you get a hold of them is by snail mail or by telephone. But even state legislators say that the number of people that contact them on an issue is not that great, so everyone that does, it means a lot. Now, at our city council meeting the other night, if any of you read the local newspapers, you saw we were dealing with ultimate fighting. And some of the council members said they got several phone calls on that. You know, and Dixie Robinson said only one of those people was in favor of that. So only 5 or 6 phone calls on an issue does make a difference for a council member. Also, showing up at the meetings. There's really no substitute for showing up at the meeting, even though they get information ahead of time from people. If the council chambers happens to be packed with people for or against an issue, that weighs pretty heavily on the minds of the council members. Council members are supposed to go into public meetings with their minds not made up. Now, you'll sometimes hear people say, I'm going to vote against that, or I'm going to vote for that, before they ever go to the meeting. But council meetings are quasi-judicial public hearings, and they are supposed to give some weight to the arguments made at the meeting. So I always tell people, it's okay to say you got problems with something, you got concerns about something, you're leaning one way or another, but you need to leave the meeting the ability to sway your opinion. So contacting them and being at the meeting are 2 ways. Now, to know when the meetings are or what the items are on the agenda, it's important to take a local newspaper. Now, let me ask a question. How many people in this room don't be afraid to hold up your hand, do not take either the Goshen News or the Elkhart Truth? Okay, do not take. You're not in bad company, you're in good company. There are a lot of people that don't take a local newspaper. I've got friends who graduated from college, but they may get a newspaper every day, but it might be the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, or something like that. So they don't read that ultimate fighting's coming. They don't read that we're not going to plow your streets this week because we're a day behind or whatever. There's no substitute for a local newspaper, so if you don't get one delivered, you should at least read it online so you have a chance to know what's coming to the city council.
I agree with everything he said. One of the ways in Elkhart, in the mayor's office, Mayor Dick Moore, in our office, we have what's called a hotline. It's 24 hours, you call it any time. First thing we do in the morning, it's the secretary's job to get the answer to the hotline, all the hotline calls. Those calls have to be returned within 24 hours by myself, by the administrative assistant, even sometimes by the mayor himself. So that's one of the ways that we try and communicate with our constituency.
Is that number available? How is that number available?
You know, we always want, that number is 293.
I don't call it.
And I just answer the calls. But if you go, our website, if you go to coei.org, you can get that. And this is like the second time somebody has asked us that, you know, and we don't call it, but we do have a hotline, so. it's available to you.
But you don't know what it is.
But I don't know what the number is yet.
Great.
But we answer those calls every morning, and every morning there are calls there for us to answer. And what the mayor was saying about coming to the meetings is so important, so very important, and it affects the way the council thinks. We had a situation in Elkhart where we were trying to get a much-needed trash ordinance passed, and we figured out it might have been 0.8% of the population that came to the council meeting on a regular basis and swayed the vote of 1 or 2 council people. So it's important that you come. Phone calls are important, emails, but again, not everyone has email. The newspaper, as much as I get disgusted with the Elkhart Truth and what they print sometimes, I read it every morning, cover to cover, so I know what's going on. And that's important. Even if you don't want to subscribe to it, you can go down to the library and get it, but that's important that you stay in tune with your local government. And whether I agree whether they do or do not do a good job of reporting on local government, they have something in there, so you need to be versed with that.
I'm going to skip to the third question before I ask the second question. Okay, what are the duties of the city council versus the county council?
I guess I can speak more for the city council. Elkhart City Council, which I was a member of, is a legislative body. We're in charge of, and we're the physical body that's responsible for the budget that the mayor presents to us. All items that, appropriations, any money that needs to be appropriated and spent has to go through the council. And Goshen is a third-class city. And
Class 3.
Class 3. Class
3. To clarify that point, the cities are classified by population.
Yes, they are. And there's only one Class 1 city in Indiana, that's Indianapolis. We're a Class 2 city. We're a first-class operation, but we're a Class 2 city in Elkhart. And Goshen, I think, Allan chairs the council meeting. Is that correct? Well, in our case, we have to sit in the audience, and we have a council president, and they kind of grill us. So that's kind of a checks and balance there, and a difference there. But and I believe local government is the government closest to the people. It is the government closest to the people. And one of my jobs as a city councilman was to make sure in my district, and you have different districts, that the needs of my constituency were being met. So you try to stay in touch with them, be accountable with them. You get the phone calls about the chickens in the yard, the dogs, and that kind of stuff. You try to stay in touch with the mayor's office when it comes to street paving projects, council in Elkhart. So we try to keep them in the loop as well. And that's important for government to work effectively, that there's an open line of communication, whether we agree or disagree, that takes place. But the council person is usually, for me, the person who gets a call about chickens or streets being plowed, that kind of thing. Or if you're out, people will spot you and voice their concerns about just about anything. And you want to take those back to the council and share those with the mayor as well. The county council is the county commissioners would be what you would call the mayor for the county. The county council is equivalent to our city council. Okay, they are a legislative body with a fiscal responsibility for the county. They kind of do the same thing that the city council does, but for the entire county. Rather than having one mayor, we have 3 mayors, 3 commissioners. So they work diligently to make sure when there's ice on the street that there's a level 1 emergency call at 11 o'clock. And
Are there 3 commissioners?
3
and 4
commissioners.
council persons?
3 commissioners, 7 county councilmen.
Okay.
Yes.